Here's how to install the OCAM bull bar onto the GWM cannon. Lay out all the hardware included in the kit and familiarise yourself with the brackets. They are marked L for driver side and R for passenger side. Separate all the bolts and washers based on size, that way they are easy to get to. Remove these 12 pop clips on the engine bay cover. Use 2 flathead screwdrivers and insert from the sides to wiggle the pop clip loose and then remove. Undo the weather gaskets on the sides with a pair of pliers. They are secured in place with rubber dimples. That'll allow it to move out of place so you can remove the plastic cover. Remove the 4 10mm bolts holding on the front grille. Underneath, remove the 6 pop clips marked in red and 8 10mm bolts marked in blue. In both wheel wells, remove the 3 Phillips head screws to separate the wheel guard from the bumper. Remove the 4 hidden Phillips head screws behind the fender flares, securing the bumper wings to the fender. You can pop out the fender flares to gain access to these screws. A ratchet with a short Phillips head works well here. Behind the grille there are 6 hidden Phillips head screws holding the grille onto the bumper and wings. Each of the wings have 2 screws per side. We're just showing you where they are in this clip as it's quite tricky to get to. Once you've removed those screws, you can pull off the bumper. Grab a friend to hold the bumper for you while you separate the grille. It's held in with plastic tabs. Disconnect the sensor and fog light wiring harness by pushing up on the grey tab and wiggling the connector out. Remove the wiring harness from the bumper. There are metal tabs holding the cable in place. The bumper wings are held in place with a few clips up near the headlight. Once you pop those out, the wing should come off along with the front grille. Just be careful not to pull it off too hard as there is still the camera wire to disconnect. With the bumper off, you can now start removing the factory crash bar and bash plate. The crash bar has 4 13mm bolts and the bash plate has 2 10mm bolts on the front and 3 more on the back. The back ones can be quite tight, so use a breaker bar if needed. Next up is removing the factory crash bar brackets and bumper brackets from both sides. The bumper brackets use an 8mm bolt and the crash bar brackets use a 13mm bolt. We'll also undo the factory earth lead as this will be relocated later. Use the longer nut on a wire and M12 bolt along with a flat washer and spring washer for the rear mounting hole on the exterior cradle bracket. Then repeat the same process for the inner cradle bracket and the shorter nut on a wire. Make sure you use the correct bracket for each side of the vehicle. Once the two brackets are on, secure them together with the two M10 bolts with both flat and spring washers on them. The chassis bolts are an 18mm and the bottom M10s are 15mm. Repeat this process on the other side. After the brackets are installed, relocate the factory earth just above the exterior cradle bracket. Grab a friend to help hold the cradle while you secure it to the chassis brackets. The inner bottom hole uses the included square spacer and fine threaded M10 bolts along with a flat washer. The top bolt uses the OEM 13mm bolt, and the middle spot uses another M10 bolt with a flat washer. On the outer mounting holes, use 3 OEM 13mm bolts and 2 M10 bolts with flat washers. Use a 13mm wrench for the OEM bolts and a 16mm for the M10s to tighten everything up loosely. Then align the cradle to make sure it's centered. Once centered, tighten everything up. With the included OEM bash plate brackets, make sure to install the cage nuts onto the bottom, then install the brackets with the included black M6 bolts with a 10mm socket. These brackets allow the factory bash plate to be reinstalled later. Install the side bash plate brackets using the included M6 bolts with both a flat and spring washer. These screw into the cradle brackets with a 10mm socket. Then attach the front grille bracket with the included M6 flange nut and tighten with a 10mm socket. With the front grille, we need to make a cut along this line in order for the bumper to fit back onto the vehicle. Power tools make life easy here. After it's cut, reinstall the bumper wing along with the factory Phillips screws and remove the front camera unit. This is where the grille bracket will screw into, and the camera will be relocated to the bull bar. Grab a friend to help you reinstall the grille. Be careful with the fender wings as they clip into place underneath the headlights, and secure the front grille with the factory Phillips screws. Secure the fender wings on the sides with the hidden Phillips screws from before, and pop the fender flares back into place. Secure the top grille with the 4 factory 10mm bolts. We'll need to cut the fender flares in order for the bull bar to fit. Here we are measuring 10mm above the seam line between the fender and bumper wing. Remember to measure twice and cut once. Repeat this step on the other side. Don't forget to cut and attach the rubber strips to the fender flares. The camera mounting holes need to be widened in order to fit onto the mounting bracket. Attach the camera to the bracket using the included M5 bolts with nylon nuts and spring washers. Then attach the bracket to the bull bar using the black M6 bolts with a spring washer and flange nut. These can be tied with a 10mm socket. Pry off the factory sensor seats from the bumper and attach them to the bull bar with some high bond adhesive tape and adhesive sealant. We will be reusing the sensor harness from the factory bumper. For the bull bar lighting, we need to remove the headlight plugs on both sides and tap into the factory harness. On the driver's side, the purple wire with the white trace on the factory plug is the indicator, so we'll connect it to the green wire. The black lead is ground, so connect the two black wires together. Then, the red wire with the yellow trace is for the parkers, so connect that lead to the red wire. On the passenger side, the red wire with the black trace on the factory plug is the indicator, so we'll connect it to the green wire. The black lead is ground, so connect the two black wires together. Then, the red wire with the yellow trace is for the parkers, so connect that lead to the red wire. Grab a friend to help you lift and install the bull bar onto the vehicle and secure the cradle using 6 M12 bolts with a flat washer on either side, followed by a spring washer and nut. Make sure the bull bar is aligned and centered before tightening using an 18mm wrench. Then plug in the camera wire as well as the sensor and fog light harness. Reinstall the factory bash plate using 3 OEM 10mm bolts for the 3 points at the back and 2 M8 bolts for the front. Install the OCAM bash plate and wing plates using the included black M6 bolts with a spring and flat washer, and tighten with a 10mm socket. Trim the front mud guards using a razor blade and follow the line of the wing plates. Try and cut as closely as possible, then secure the mud guard to the wing plates with black M6 bolts with flat and spring washers. Reinstall the plastic engine cover with the factory pop clips that you removed before. Attach the number plate bracket to the bull bar with 2 black M6 bolts with spring and flat washers, then tighten with a 10mm wrench. Add your number plate using the 2 dome head M6 bolts with spring and flat washers, and tighten using a 4mm Allen key. Tighten the 2 side bolts using a 4mm Allen key and 10mm wrench. You only need to make this tight enough so it doesn't move around while driving. Make sure to test all the lights on your vehicle. Cycle through the indicators, parkers and fog lights to verify that everything is working properly. And there you have it, your brand new OCAM GWM Cannon bull bar is installed.